the description, along with BroFi at the very top, where you can get direct access to me, my own tools and strategies. Inside, we're deconstructing the market together, weathering the storms together, and we're taking the same grounded approach that you love on this channel. I'll see you on the other side. There's 1,000,001 ways that you can make money as a trader or an investor, and you don't need to do all of them. You don't even need to do most of them. You just need one, and you pick one and you do it well. And even if you miss 1,000,000 opportunities in between, as long as you're doing your one thing well, who cares, dude? You are making your money, and that is always what's going to be most important. $5,000 I paid for a beautiful vacation with my mom, and that was the first time that I kind of like became like the man of the house in some way, you know, like taking care of things and making sure everyone's eating, stuff like that. And I was what, like 16 at this point. I mean, I was young.
I mean, a lot of people, especially in crypto, this is what I try to beat out of people on my YouTube channel, is they think, if I click buttons and trade, I make money. And that's not how it works. It's not like the more you log into Bybit, the more you look at your charts, the more you do XYZ, the more money you're gonna make. That's absolutely not how it works. The only way you make money in these markets is by waiting for good opportunities, the right timing, the right setup that fits your risk profile, and you execute when the time is right. That's it. My attitude in life was, fuck it, let me just see what I can do and just like send out some crazy offer. Maybe they accept it, maybe they deny it, but it doesn't matter. At least I get it out there. And I landed a lot of opportunities doing that. The original goal was to bank up that 100K and then go backpacking.
Just for context, that is the opposite of the way Sam is. There's not a chance in this world.
I've gone through those spirals. I've messed it all up 1,000,000 times, more times than I'd like to admit. And from there, I've learned my lessons.
I liken trading to being a pilot. As a pilot, you're never skipping any of pre-flight safety checks, and that's going to be regardless of how you feel about it or how much sleep you've had. You will always do your job. And if you can't bring that same level of respect to your own money, if that's not the respect that you can bring here, you'll do very badly if you can't bring that attitude to this game. As a trader, every individual trade that you take, that I take, has a risk associated with it. It may or may not work out. While any individual trade is going to be entirely based on luck, entirely based on probability. If those probabilities are skewed in your favor, and then you apply it over a large enough data set, you're highly likely to get a positive result if the probabilities are good and the data set is large enough. When you find yourself in positions where, you've opened a trade and all of a sudden you're feeling some type of way, you're feeling something negative, that is a warning sign. That is something inside of you telling you that this is not right. The easiest solution to this most of the time is simply trading with less money. I didn't have a lot of trouble learning this one. Many other people do tend to have troubles learning this. For me, a stop loss is equivalent to a seatbelt. You won't find me in a passenger vehicle without a seatbelt. We Brits love safety, but more than that, you need to love safety for your portfolio. Stop losses are critical. Stop losses are really important. You're not Superman and you will get things wrong.
You met Andrew Tate and you got to hang out with Andrew Tate, it looks like. What was that experience? How did you two get connected?
I hit him up on Twitter. I was like, yo, I'm a young guy making money. What's up? We just kind of clicked over that. He just likes people that are ambitious. He's the one that pressured me to buy my first Porsche. I'll never forget his text, all caps, do it. That's it, an order, straight from Top G, an order. I have a Porsche. A beautiful car. I've sent that car to London by plane, toured it in Europe. I actually took it here in the Alps, which was one of the best experiences of my life. And that car is one of my favorite things in life. Money does buy happiness because it buys Ferraris and Porsches, and I stand by that statement proudly, yeah.
Telegram, Twitter, X, Rumble, everything is in the description, along with BroFi at the very top, where you can get direct access to me, my own tools and strategies. Inside, we're deconstructing the market together, weathering the storms together, and we're taking the same grounded approach that you love on this channel. I'll see you on the other side. There's 1,000,001 ways that you can make money as a trader or an investor, and you don't need to do all of them. You don't even need to do most of them. You just need one, and you pick one and you do it well. And even if you miss 1,000,000 opportunities in between, as long as you're doing your one thing well, who cares, dude? You are making your money, and that is always what's going to be most important. $5,000 I paid for a beautiful vacation with my mom, and that was the first time that I kind of became the man of the house in some way, taking care of things and making sure everyone's eating, stuff like that. And I was 16 at this point. I was young. All right, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome on in. We have a $67,000 Bitcoin. Do you feel the pain, ladies and gents? Is it pumping through your veins? Oh, I need to turn my microphone down. I'm sorry. What's going on, guys? Welcome into this live stream. Do me a favor and smash up those likes. Let's get those likes absolutely smashed through the ceiling here. It's the only nice thing we can do today with this market. Where are we at right now? 100 viewers, 15 likes. Smash them up, ladies and gents. Let's get this thing above 50. You already know the deal. Welcome on in, everyone. Where are we watching from? Where in the world are we watching from today? I gotta say, it's these live streams. It's these fucking live streams where the price is crashing, everybody's losing their mind. I feel pumped up. I'm like, alright, I got something to do today. Fucking hell. It's not gonna be another boring day. At least, you know, existential dread speeds time up a little bit. I think. A little bit. What's up, ladies and gents? Welcome on into the live stream. South Beach, Miami. What's going on, Lewis? Welcome back in. Trinidad and Tobago. Afghanistan. What's up, Nick? How you doing, bro? Netherlands, Canada, Portugal. Should we get ads on lives? You know, we can, but I don't know. I think it's probably automatic if YouTube does it. But, welcome on in, everyone. We got Greece in the house. Bro already knows what financial ruin's like living in Greece. So this shouldn't be too different for you, sir. All love, dude. I love Greece. For a vacation. I don't think I could live there. Lord Armin from Canada. We got Berlin. Feeling fucking sick. Cyprus. Alright, ladies and gents. Welcome on in. Welcome into this live stream here. Smash those likes up. Let's get those likes up to 50. $67,000 Bitcoin. What the fuck is going on? Alright, so, I mean, and this is the thing, is we have plummeted through every support level on this chart that I've seen. You know, I mean, when we set this high at $98,000, it was more or less a straight line down. And look at this. What an incredible sell-off, by the way. Minus 30% inside of 3 weeks. Minus 30% in 3 weeks. I don't even think the first drop was this bad. This was minus 36%, but it took 50 days. It took nearly 2 months. This hasn't even taken 1 month, and we've nearly seen the same percentage drop. So, incredible. Incredible. Ladies and gents, are you tired of winning? Are we getting tired of winning, ladies and gents? Drop it in the live chat. Absolutely. I tell you what, I saw a brilliant tweet. If Kamala won, Bitcoin would be at $1 million, but we'd all be gay. Oh man, I remember speaking to a Democrat voter that's super rich in LA. And I love this guy, he's a good friend, but I was like, what is it, dude? Like like how could you be like this if you're also wealthy and you know you have to move money around and you understand the restrictions on your financial freedom? And he was like, yeah, well, you know, things were more stable under Biden. And this dude was fucking right. He was definitely correct, wasn't he? Bless him. Bless him. I'm sure he'd be very, very happy with all that. We got Eritas saying I'm dollar cost averaging in like hell. And he says, well, I haven't seen you for a while. You've lost some serious weight. Yeah, dude, I was pretty fat like 6-7 months ago, wasn't I? Am I walking on a treadmill? Yes, sir. Getting those free steps in. 67,500 Bitcoin is moving up by a little bit. Let's go ahead and get that DGen cam set up on the right-hand side over here. You guys know I love this shit. I'm in my element today, ladies and gents. We got some crazy price action today. We're live streaming. So, by the way, I gotta say, if this is the first time that we're down here at these price levels... Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, so... Let's actually start by analyzing this chart then. So, if we put this on the 5-minute, just kind of understand how we got here. It's pretty clear that we could still be in dump mode. And the reason I'm saying that is because we produced a move fully to the downside at 66,600, and it's now it's now resulted in a very, very small pump, maybe like $1,500 up, and it's kind of just going sideways. So, you know, this obviously looks like it could just break down again. If it moves up slowly, you know, it also looks like it could break down. That's kind of what Bitcoin did last time and the time before that on a... I mean, this is the 5-minute time scale, mind you, but, you know, that's kind of what Bitcoin did before. Am I worried anything Am I worried anytime something like this happens? Hell no. No. I'm not worried. Okay, let's clear this up first of all. I'm not worried about what's going on in this market. It's been 9 years I've been doing this. I've experienced many market environments like this inside of crypto. It's definitely not the first time that I've watched my net worth evaporate in front of my fucking eyes. It's not the first time that I've had beautiful plans of what I would do if Bitcoin pumps by another 20% or another 80%. You know, it's not the first time that I've had these plans and then all these plans have been completely derailed and I've had to fucking rethink my entire life. Okay? So it's happened again now, obviously, and it's part of the fucking journey, okay? What I say constantly is that if you don't like this kind of thing, what are you doing here? This is crypto. This is the most volatile asset class in history. So, you know, we gotta be realistic about the battles we're picking here, okay? If this kind of thing, like if it's too much pressure, if you're starting to crumble, look, I've been saying it for a while, so you can't even say I'm telling you too late. I've been saying it for a while, you need to get the fuck out of crypto, okay? So, you know, blame Epstein, exactly, you know. But no, I'm not worried at all. Like 0% worried, actually. I'm negative worried, fam. I'm getting more bullish as this shit happens. I'm dead serious. You guys just need to get it, okay? When you're on this channel, you're not gonna get me. You're not gonna hear me saying something bearish about Bitcoin. I mean, listen, short term, I've been, you know, pointing out that look, we're plunging below support levels. We might drop hard. So, short term, I'm aware of where the price might go, and we're going to talk about that here, right? We predicted that Bitcoin might end up hitting this range. I didn't want it to happen. I actually thought we would. I thought we would be bouncing off 70, you know, the low 70s. But, you know, we still predicted that this is kind of where a deviation can happen, a couple other things like that. Including just, you know, look, I'm open to Bitcoin falling all the way down to like 30K. I just don't think it's going to happen. You know, I still don't think it's going to happen. But I'm totally open to it. And I got to say, you know, with the kind of intensity of this sell-off, to me, I think, you know, a reversal could come in really quickly here. I still think, actually, that this isn't even Bitcoin's show. It's not. It's not even Bitcoin. You know, you look at the S&P 500, dude. This thing has plummeted. The S&P 500 has seen a big drop. This is the biggest drop the S&P 500 has seen in this entire range for all-time highs. The last one that we got in the middle of January, that was a 2.8% move. Now, we're down by 3.2%. You know, and we're seeing some really powerful stocks now slipping below interesting key psychological levels. Tesla below 400. Palantir has completely lost support. Heading down to support here at 120 and failing that support at $80. You know, so it's not just crypto. Like, everything is getting smashed right now. And that has to be a key reason that I'm not worried about Bitcoin. Because if it was unique weakness that Bitcoin is experiencing, then sure, this is definitely something concerning. But it's not. It's not unique. Bitcoin is following everything else. Now, of course, that doesn't mean Bitcoin's going to recover with everything else. That's not something that we've been seeing over the last year. But, you know, that to me is something which is, you know, more, it's the fact that it didn't happen before doesn't make me think it can't happen next time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that the previous situation weighs on the next situation in this context. Bear markets are good. Yes, they are. I mean, you know, you really become a good trader inside of bear markets. You know, you can really hone your skills, get sharp, get good. Ladies and gents, welcome on in to this live stream here. Smash up those likes if you haven't done so already. We're only 19 away from 50. Not too much. Not too much. Smash them up if you haven't done so already. World Liberty Fi getting smashed the most, I guess is what you're saying. James is tired of winning. This isn't a bear market. Simply retesting a key support area. Yes, it doesn't look good, but we've done it before. Yeah, pretty based, bro. I gotta be honest. I'm kind of largely with you. I mean, look. We are still testing a support level. Now, listen, as far as, you know, like, are we in a bear market or not goes, we shouldn't be losing macro lows, okay? That's not good. Now, it's not the end of the world, but it's not good. And the macro low that I'm talking about is this one. Losing this is where, you know, like, listen, man, I'm bullish, but even I gotta say fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, even I gotta say, like, okay, like, that's not good. You know, it's not good. Now, it'll be great if this turns out to be a deviation. Bitcoin spends a day or a week or whatever it needs down here, and then it fucking spikes back up. No problem. If that happens, no problem. I'm fine. I'm happy with this. Honestly, it would be really nice. It would be the best thing that could have happened if it happens. But I don't want to hold my breath for that. I think it's very likely. You know, I mean, after a 31% drop nonstop, you know, there has to be a reversal. There has to be. And I don't think it'll be Bitcoin's show once again. I think that if that reversal comes in, it'll belong to traditional finance, and Bitcoin will kind of just tag along like a bitch. And it's going to keep doing that until Bitcoin itself looks very sexy as an investment. And at that point, everybody wants a little bit of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's at 120K, 130K, 140K, right? You understand how this works. Am I worried? Hell no. Hell no. Worried? Shit. 9 fucking years, bro. My whole fucking brain is a callus at this point, fam. Do you understand? Like, I have been abused and fucked about by this market for a decade. None of this shit feels like anything anymore. I'm completely numb. Completely. And you want to be numb as well if you want to be in this market. Where I am psychologically right now, that's where every single one of you should want to be if you're not already there. Because you will not be able to make good decisions. Alright, I mean, this is what I was saying on the previous live stream, previous video. Listen, if you're here in these markets, and these markets are stressing you out, and you're upset about it, and you're just kind of watching yourself lose money, what the fuck are you doing? This is not a productive use of your time. Now, if you're here, and you're losing money, but you're paying attention to the market, and you're identifying trading opportunities where you can make a nice 20%, 30%, 40%, whatever the number might be, well, now you're doing something productive. Now, because I believe it will, if the market recovers, you're going to have more Bitcoin when Bitcoin reaches its all-time high again. So, you know, and I always say, we're all in this game long-term. Many of us will say, you know, I'm in this game for like a few months, 1 year, 2 years, whatever. Shut up. Doesn't matter. You are here for the long term. Okay? If God doesn't take you away from this planet, if God doesn't take you away from us, I promise you, you're stuck here now. That's how this works. This is crypto. All right, people don't really leave. I'm sorry to break it to you. People don't really leave. So you are long term, even if you don't want to be. And with that in mind, it really pays to know what the hell you're doing. It really pays at times like this to have your head screwed on, to have your head planted on your shoulders, to not be running off with crazy ideas. Ladies and gents, that's what BroFi is all about. And if you're not already inside, you need to get inside today. Now's your time. Today's your day. Direct access to me, my own tools and strategies. We've got our BroFi weekly live show in a couple of hours as well today, which is going to be amazing. That's our live private show that we run every week, where I break down essentially my strategies, my next moves in the market, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. All of that is inside of BroFi. You're getting a price lock right now. You get access to our comprehensive analysis and trading course. This is where you download the knowledge of my brain into yours. We've had a number of traders, new and, you know, obviously, like, been around for a little bit, maybe a year or two. I don't consider a year or two in the game to be a long time. You know, we've had many people at that kind of level, like 1 to 4 years in the game, go through this course and reform how they view the markets. It results in this case, you know, we've seen some pretty sweet profits from some members here. Bear in mind, $100 to join, right? So it's not hard for these people to pay off their entry fee. And really what we end up getting is amazing risk management. We end up seeing amazing risk management from our members. We see great, you know, discipline in taking profits, and genuinely just different approaches to the market. You know, higher levels of belief in one's own trading ideas, better risk management, actually taking profits, genuinely getting paid for this. That's what we're all about inside of BroFi. It's linked at the top of the description if you want to join. Today is your day. We'll see you on the inside. Now's your time. You do it while we're live. Join us for the next weekly show. BroFi, I've been waiting for these price levels for 2 years, and now that I'm in BroFi, the wait is easier to bear. Hell yeah, dude. Especially with the psychology section. It's time to start accumulating. Yeah, you're 100% correct, dude. The psychology section. So we have an entire... So we've got the trading course, the analysis course, but we've also got the psychology course. The psychology course, in my opinion, is a lot more valuable. It's just a little bit less sexy. Most people want to learn this stuff. They want to learn the buttons to click. But the trading psychology course, I think, is much more important. And yeah, these principles... I mean, we're seeing it deployed inside of the group chat. I think you guys have been doing really well today. I gotta say, you know, with this drop, you know, group chats really turn to shit on days like this. We certainly are maintaining the energy, so I think that's great. It's been good. It's been good. So that's a little bit on BroFi. Let's come back to the analysis here. Thank you all for smashing those likes up. We're only 10 away from 50. You absolute legends. Really do appreciate that. Shout out to Brit Venture UK. Just bought a little bit more Tesla stock. That was smart. Good job, dude. Always like buying when it's low. This feels like manipulation to me, not a bear market. You know, it might be, but to me, you know, what I read this as, I think it's very simple. I think the market is just not loved by anybody right now, so it's a very easy opportunity to crash these markets. But I'll tell you what, this is a big support range that Bitcoin just hit. You know, this entire like zone here, we knew that there wasn't going to be a lot of support basically until this yellow box. And unfortunately, the yellow box failed for us. And so we essentially looked at a massive liquidity vacuum here. And, you know, that's not the end of the world. That's not actually super scary, because when we originally got above the 70K level, it was also a liquidity vacuum. In fact, the entire range was a liquidity vacuum on this pump here, and Bitcoin just flew straight through these levels. And bear in mind, every candle here is 1 day. So this was actually pretty quick. This was within like 5-6 days. Bitcoin was already, you know, far north of 70K. It was at 90K, actually. And, you know, similarly, on the way down, we're moving down very quickly. We're bouncing up very quickly. Again, on the way down over here, we're moving down very quickly. And so we can reason very easily, very calmly, without really saying anything crazy. We can reason very, very naturally that if Bitcoin does start producing a bounce, I mean, the bounce can turn very strong very quickly. So I'm really not worried about recovering levels like 88K and so on. I don't think that that's going to be, you know, something that I'm concerned about. The reason that I'm not concerned about it is because I think that it's again going to be a liquidity vacuum. I think it's again going to be an empty price range where the price can just pump through these levels within a day. And if that's true, then really our key levels to look at are still in the mid-80s. None of this stuff matters. Now, we do have resistance. We'll talk about the resistance later on in this live stream. We do have resistance. But, you know, I just don't know if it's enough. I don't know if these factors are enough to hold this market back. You know, if a pump starts coming in, I think realistically, you know, a big recovery is in order now. And, you know, truly, I thought the recovery was going to come in this range. So, you know, obviously now the next range is in the 60s. That's why I have to look at the 60s. But, you know, I don't really want to make a brazen prediction here because this market isn't making a lot of sense. But to the extent that it's not making sense, like, we can still figure out what it's saying because we understand that it's not moving independently. And that, I think, is the most important thing for us to internalize today on this live stream. Bitcoin is not moving independently today. Okay? Bitcoin is only moving the way it is because traditional finance is moving the way it is. And if traditional finance is doing this, well, it's not Bitcoin's choice, is it? Bitcoin doesn't get to do what it wants. Bitcoin does what it has to do. And in these situations, it has to drop because traditional finance is dropping too. Now, look, we're holding this support level. It's the same support level that we held in mid-January, and it's nearly more or less the same support level that we held in mid-December. So if this level continues to hold, then we're continuing to display strength in the region of all-time highs. And we might be able to see the S&P recover. Now, if the S&P does recover, I'm not saying that that means Bitcoin's back above, you know, 70K, back above 80K, although I think that it's possible at that point. But if it does recover, it at least takes the pressure off. It at least gives us an opportunity to start looking at where we can, you know, we can interact with this market, which I think would be really nice. It would be very refreshing. So, you know, that's the S&P 500. And if it weren't for the S&P 500 dropping like this, would Bitcoin still be dropping? Maybe, probably, but not by this much, right? Not likely. And so that's why I'm not too worried about this. If it was unique Bitcoin weakness, then I'll be like, all right, we got to figure out where this is coming from. But we know where it's coming from. And I feel with a lot of certainty, I don't know this as a fact, but I feel it close to a fact, that the stock market will indeed double. You know, I was just thinking last night about how it was only a year ago that Trump engineered this pullback in the stock market. Now, listen, I'm not saying he's going to do the same thing again. You know, this was a minus 20%. We don't need another minus 20% in 1 year. But we might need a minus 10%. We might need a minus 11%. And if this is what Trump is going for, my God, where does that put Bitcoin? You know, because Bitcoin's down at 66K, 68K, you know, and the S&P has barely moved. So am I listening to music? I am listening to music, but I'm actually on a treadmill. So that's the movement you see in my head. That's me on a treadmill. Stock market is waiting on Supreme Court ruling on tariffs. Yeah, and it's interesting that Supreme Court ruling has been delayed. The fact that it was delayed makes me curious if Trump is actually going to get his way on this, because I think the consensus has been that they're going to vote against him. So we'll see how that goes. But, you know, S&P 500 doesn't need a pullback, doesn't need a correction. It's in a correction right now. If it goes for a bigger one, I don't see it getting worse than 61.35. I think that can put Bitcoin, that can send Bitcoin to the fucking negatives at this rate. But, you know, realistically, I still don't even think we're going to hit. We could hit 35. A lot of people talk about 35K. We could hit 35K. It's kind of an untested level. I remember it. It is somewhat untested. So, you know, we could. But, you know, again, I don't really think so. But I tell you what, if the S&P does take a big shit like this, that would be what potentially takes us there. Now, if it doesn't do that, then really what I was thinking of yesterday is just the fact that, you know, Trump kind of crashed the markets with his tariffs last year. But then at the very bottom, and really, by the way, like, there's two sides to this, right? The first side to this is like, oh my God, Orange Man bad, he's doing tariffs and it's really destructive for the economy. Good, okay, agree, whatever. Back to the chart. When Trump, the president, is giving you a buy signal at the pico fucking bottom, whether or not you like him, whether or not you agree with his politics, you gotta admit, the dude did give us a perfect buy signal. He did. He gave us a perfect buy signal. And he did it because he wants people that are Trump diehard supporters. He wants those people to make money. Now listen, you and I might not be a Trump diehard supporter, okay? But if he's going to give us a buy signal, and if he's displayed that he wants his people to make money, and he's going to tell you when to buy to do it, and he did it back here at the bottom, well, the next time that he did it, if I'm not mistaken, someone can correct me in the comments on this, the next time he did it was at these lows, the same lows that the S&P is at right now. And he said that the stock market is going to double. And I don't know exactly what stock market is going to double means, but I could definitely imagine that we're going to be deep in the 7,000s. So, you know, I still think that that's going to count for something. Now, it was perfect the last time that Trump did it in 2025. Okay, when he gave that buy signal, when he said, you know, markets are a great point to be buying, it was literally the exact bottom. It was perfect. Now, does that mean it's going to be perfect again? Not necessarily. You know, not necessarily. He could be just talking shit, and last time he was just lucky, right? That's possible too. But I think what I'm seeing here, I'm seeing a lot of people that are doubting essentially the AI revolution, that feel like AI growth has stagnated. They feel that the stock market is deeply intertwined with AI, that the main reason it's still being supported as high as it is because of AI, and they feel like this is a bubble that's going to pop. And there have been big figures inside of the space that have said this too. I can't remember who it was, but it was like some Silicon Valley company, you know, like one or two people starting to say, listen, like, you know, these stock valuations are kind of crazy. At the same time, let's look at some facts. All right, let's look at some facts at the same time. SpaceX is going to IPO this year, potentially. I don't really know what they're doing, but, you know, there's something going on there. OpenAI also looking to IPO this year. They were going to IPO in 2027. Now they've pulled it a little bit earlier to this year in 2026, if I'm not mistaken. I need to fact check some of this, but this is my understanding. And, you know, you're talking about big companies going IPO. Now, why would they go IPO? Under what circumstance would they go IPO? Under what market environment would they go IPO? Naturally, you go IPO because you want to go for a max extraction event. You go IPO because, you know, you as the business owner need a socially acceptable time to sell some shares and get some US dollars back. You know, so you're only going IPO inside of positive market environments. And, you know, and this is ultimately the biggest test, okay? I really want you guys to internalize this. We got 190 viewers in the house. Shout out to you guys. Really appreciate you all for tuning in today. You're lucky you're watching this part, okay? Because a lot of people, they don't watch the whole live stream. If you remove what everybody is saying about these markets from what you're considering, all right, if you act like there's no other people that are saying any words about this market, and if you shut the fuck up and you just analyze the charts, these charts in traditional finance are still not showing a scary image, in my opinion. In my opinion. Now, I see that this can look like the start of a big drop for the S&P, especially considering that it slowed down. But that would be naive, because the S&P regularly slows down before exploding up. It's normal. And that's really what I'm getting at. This market still looks normal to me. The only things that I see that are not normal are the sentiment of traders. And if the sentiment of traders is what I would use to base my decision making, then well, you know, I probably wouldn't be able to live stream here with you guys. I don't know if I'd be able to afford anything on this desk. You know what I'm saying? Like, life would be very different if all of my decisions were from this compromised perspective. I don't care about what people have to say. And when you strip that stuff away, traditional finance still looks great. It still looks great. And, you know, with Bitcoin being at 67K, listen, I don't care. I don't care if Bitcoin is down at these kind of lows, because I understand, because I've seen Bitcoin for so long, I understand that if things start turning around, the difference in price we're going to see is going to be massive and quick. We're going to see a quick change in price, and it's going to be a big change in price. So whether we hit 67K or 57K or 47K wouldn't make a difference to me. It wouldn't. Because I understand that in a bearish environment, Bitcoin can drop very, very far. And I understand that as soon as that pressure is relieved, Bitcoin produces violent reactions. This is still Bitcoin. And a lot of people think it's a different asset altogether, and they are permanently kind of in that state of thinking. And I totally understand. I've been there myself so many times. I really have. I've been there so many times myself. I really understand where that's coming from. But it's not correct. It's not good. It's not healthy. Okay? Bitcoin is going to make you think that something temporary is permanent. It'll make you take action based on that. You know, you'll be watching these charts. You'll be panicking. You'll end up making a stupid decision. You'll panic sell the bottom. You know what I'm saying? You'll do something silly like that. And then before you know it, you've squandered your opportunity. And the dickhead that was just sleeping for 6 months, he's going to be ahead of you. Always happens like that. Always happens. And I've been here many, many times in that exact position. I've been in that exact position many, many times. So, that's kind of that's kind of how I feel about a potential Bitcoin recovery. You know, I mean, we've already seen it from a technical, you know, from a technical perspective. We start getting a pump here. Okay, we got a little bit of resistance here at 70K, but beyond that, you know, we're potentially right up to 80s. You know, maybe even the 90s, because there's really not a lot of resistance. And I wanna show this to you on a different perspective here. Let's take a look at Palantir stock. Let's take a look at Palantir stock really quick. You know, because Palantir, it's not crypto. You know, it's not hated the way crypto is hated, but it's displaying the same characteristics because it's obvious. And I'm going to elaborate on that here in a sec. So, on the way up for Palantir here on this stock chart, there was very little resistance that Palantir had established. As far as resistance, I'm looking at the moves up and I'm looking at where Palantir tops. And there really aren't very many levels. And even when it does top, how temporary are these tops? This was a month long. On this occasion here, this was 2 months long. On this occasion here, it was 3 months long. For a stock, it's pretty fast. It's pretty fast for a stock. And so, you know, when it's establishing resistance, it's weak resistance. You know, it doesn't really hold the market back for long. And as it's going up, for the most part, it's just not establishing resistance. It's just moving up in a straight line. And so naturally, you know, this was a great level of support here for Palantir. Naturally, you know, you lose levels like this, and now you don't have any support. Okay, you didn't establish any resistance on the way up. Look, this is the only real top that Palantir had, and it was no big deal within 2 weeks. Okay, in 2 weeks, this resistance level was broken. So, you know, we really didn't establish resistance as we were going up, and that's why this chart can't find support on the way down. That's why it might only be finding support here at the $120 level, because this is where the next kind of pocket of liquidity, reversals, and so on is. It's here at 120, and that's why it was a straight line drop to get here. And that's why you might see it go sideways a little bit, maybe produce a bounce, but if it loses this level, then there's another big drop down to $80. So, you know, that's going to be what you expect to happen inside of a market that didn't produce resistance when it trended up. And the reason that that's really important is because it also means, again, that if the market starts reversing, guess what? This is a huge liquidity pocket. We didn't find resistance on the way up. We probably won't find support on the way down. Well, that means we probably won't find resistance on the way up again. And that also applies through this range. And that also applies getting up to the $180 level again. In all of these situations, if the pumps start coming in, they should be quick, because there's really nothing stopping the chart from moving in these directions. And that is a blessing as a trader, ladies and gents. Please understand. Now, as an investor, it's going to create a turbulent journey for you. This is the part where you switch your brain off and you go somewhere else. You go work your real job, or walk your dog, or, you know, cook some breakfast for your wife or whatever. You know, this is where you do that stuff if you're just an investor. But if you're a trader and if you're interested in really exploiting this volatility, because there's a lot of volatility, well, now you have a very, very fertile market. You have the ideal market, okay? Once again, you have the ideal market in these kind of situations. Thank you guys for 50 likes. You have the ideal market because these markets are so violent and they're moving really quickly, okay? So being able to take advantage of that kind of volatility is essential. We're going to be putting out more stocks analysis inside of BroFi. I'm really interested in it, especially at these kind of ranges, because as you know, crypto is pretty difficult to trade right now, but stocks are not. So definitely going to be putting more content for those inside of BroFi, including some trades as well. Definitely very, very interested. James says, I'm going to have to buy a robot to work another job. I'm going to be working 2 here. Yeah, dude, you're going to have to be working 2 separate jobs just to dollar cost average into these assets at this point, I think. And it'll be the best decision that I think many people would possibly make if they do that, actually, you know, unironically. But, you know, so that's Palantir, and I'm just using that to kind of describe what I think is going to happen to Bitcoin, because in the same way, Bitcoin doesn't have real resistance going up to 80K. So, you know, that can be pretty sweet. Now, let's talk about this range. Let's talk about the range that Bitcoin is in right now. May as well. We just passed 50 likes. May as well talk about that a little bit. You know, and if we take a look at this kind of price range here on the 4-hour time frame, look, there's so much stuff happening in this price range, and this is only 2024. You know, this is, let alone what happened in 2021. This is just 2024, and there's a ton of shit at every single price level here, and that's why I'm really not interested in kind of looking for where support might be. You know, I think that support is everywhere here. You know, I think especially as we are dropping from such high price levels down into this range, like, the range is support. It's not that there's a specific level. It's literally this entire zone. You know, and I know this is going to look silly, but again, it's crypto. Crypto is volatile. That's why we draw things that look so obtuse like this. But I genuinely think this entire zone is a strong bounce zone for Bitcoin. Just as far as, you know, where Bitcoin traded before. I just think it's very historically significant. Now, I felt the same way about the 70s. You know, and that didn't hold. So, you know, could it happen again? Yeah, of course it could happen again. But what are the chances it happens twice in a row? Extremely slim, in my opinion. Extremely slim. So, I gotta say, you know, 2022... this bear market that we started November 21, down to the lows here, November 22, this was a 1 year straight bear market with no real bounces. You know, and that's starting to look a lot similar to what we have right now. You know, so far, and this is incredible. Look at this. Let me measure this properly. Hang on, because this is important. That looks correct, right? Minus 47%. Look at that. That's how low we are today. Minus 47%. So, you know, after drops like this, you know, we hit a massive support zone like this. Look, it might not be the biggest support bounce. It might not erase everything and take us north of 110K. But a bounce, surely. I don't know. I can't see the future. But if we don't get a bounce here, I mean, this is now one of the most violent sell-offs I've ever seen. And look, if we get one of the most violent sell-offs I've ever seen, it still wouldn't be a big deal, ladies and gents. It still wouldn't. Because really, what's happening? What's happening when that kind of thing takes place is like, okay, you've got a lot of people capitulating. You've got a lot of people giving up. Yep, okay, understood. I agree. But did the asset change? No. Did Bitcoin itself get weaker? Of course not. No. It's all hysteria. It's all panic for other people. Didn't silver do minus 40% in a day? Yes, sir. It absolutely did. And it was only about a week ago. It was on the day of the Epstein file release, actually. Or maybe the day before. So, you know, I mean, that was silver. Minus 40%. Yeah, 100%. You know, and this is what I'm saying is, like, we're going through. You know, this is what people don't understand. I swear, I say this shit on the microphone and I sound crazy, but it's not going to stop me from saying it because I'm right. We're entering new paradigms right now. We're entering a new era of technology, of finance, of how the world works right now. We're entering it right now. We're in that transition right now. I don't know what other evidence you can ask for other than seeing silver shit 40% in a day. I mean, God bless these boomers. You know? These dudes don't know what volatility is. They're holding on to assets. They're holding on to houses that they bought in the fucking 1990s, early 2000s. Shit, if you bought a house in America like 2019, you're up massively. Right? Like, these boomers don't know what losing money feels like. Yeah, a little bit in '08. You know, that was fucking, what, 20 years ago now? '08. So, you know, we're going through a paradigm shift. These markets are moving in ways they've never moved before. Now, in that kind of environment, are we just going to start betting against Bitcoin? In this kind of environment where the world is going through, you know, existential change, genuinely. You know, and the change is in the direction of technological development. We're not moving away from technology. We're moving toward it. No, we're not even moving toward it. We're moving inside of it. Or it's moving inside of us. You know, it's whatever. Maybe a combination, right? Honestly, maybe a combination. And so, in that kind of environment, are we really betting against Bitcoin? What, because the price dropped a little bit? It's Bitcoin, fam. I mean, what asset class do you think we're in? You thought we weren't going to have a bumpy ride? Come on, dude. Come on, seriously? Seriously? Oh, it's different now because now you feel the pain. Okay, well, you know, the market doesn't care. Straight to your face, fam. The market doesn't care. You're down bad. I'm down bad. You feel terrible. I feel terrible. Does the market give a shit? Okay. Okay, well, if the market doesn't give a shit, then maybe our best choice here is to understand exactly what's going on, exploit it, make some money out of it if we can, and if we can't or if we don't want to, now we make now we make a deep decision. We make a real decision in our head. Do we keep watching this? Do we keep paying attention to this? Because if you stop, you still have your holdings, right? Maybe Bitcoin recovers and you just get to save yourself from all that anguish. Now, I shouldn't be saying this to you. I'm a YouTuber. Okay, the more you watch this channel, the better I do. Okay, so I shouldn't be saying this is against my own incentives. But I'm talking about you. For you specifically, is it time to just stop looking? Is it time to stop watching these charts? If you can't deal with this, if this is messing you up, well, you might end up driving yourself to make a very, very stupid decision. And that wouldn't be, at the end of it, you're going to be looking back. It's 3 months. You've grayed out your hair a little bit more. You've really stressed yourself out. And you panic sell the bottom. I mean, it's the ultimate humiliation ritual. Don't do it. If that's going to be you, you don't even have to do this. Now, at the same time, if you're able to be a little bit of a man, all right, as one of our live chat viewers says, grab your balls, gents. You'll make money. If you're able to be a little bit of a man, and that applies to the females in the house as well, well, Bitcoin's down 47%. Everybody's lost love with it. Traditional finance is holding strong. Gold and silver have broken out. We've got multiple massive IPOs this year. This is not an environment where I'm interested in tuning out. Okay, a minus 47% crash, that only makes the subsequent rise that much sweeter. Okay? It only makes the subsequent rise that much sweeter. Okay, we have more upside now because we've been crashing. That is true. I believe that fully. We do have more upside now thanks to this crash. So, I really want to see this be the bottom. I think this is a really nice range for Bitcoin to bottom out at. It's a big range. If Bitcoin doesn't make use of this range, we could stretch it down. You can stretch it down into the low 50s. You can go lower. You can keep going lower. There's a million levels here. But we're in this range now. We're in this range now in the 60s. It is very strong support. It's stronger than 70K because we spent 8 months trading here in 2024. And we spent a decent amount of time in 2021 as well. So a very historically charged level. And I tell you what, losing this level, it's going to be difficult to break this level again. All right, and it was difficult the last time. When we came up here, it took 8 months to break this level. Okay, so if we lose this level, that would be the first resistance level we have to overcome. That might actually be pretty slow. The other resistance levels up ahead, we got a little bit like 80K, 85, 92, 94, whatever. None of these are big, heavy, scary resistance levels to me. But 70K, 60K, if we get below this range, it's just gonna be painful, But and I think many people will expect it to take a long time. Now, I still, I'm not married to any analysis about time frames of how long Bitcoin might take to start recovering or to finish dropping and so on. And the reason I'm not really in that business of asking those kind of questions is because you actually get a very high likelihood of strong reactions after sell-offs like this. Strong bounces. 50% up would send Bitcoin only to 99K right now. Let's just internalize that for a second. for a little bit of a mind fuck today. On this fruitful, decisive Thursday. The 5th of February, 50% up puts us at 100K. That is a mind fuck for me. I don't know about you guys. But, Bitcoin can pull that kind of thing off really quickly. And very suddenly, like out of nowhere. It's probably going to happen right after you sell. So if you want to take one for the team, all right, if you try to take one for the team, sell your coins here at the lows, that's probably where we're going to start reversing. Okay, so who's volunteering in the live chat? Who's volunteering? Who's going to panic sell the bottom here? So that the rest of us can make some money. Because you already know how this works. You already know how this works, guys. In the live chat. We've been there many, many times. So someone's got to take one for the team. But, eventually, yeah, I think the chance of, a massive bounce, a massive reversal, a jarring reversal, a violent reversal, I think the chance of that is very high. But I don't know when it's going to come, and I don't even know if it's going to come, because it's not guaranteed. In 2022, we didn't get one. In 2022, we got a reaction rally. This was plus 48, 46%, but it took 2 months, 3 months. It wasn't great. Josh Mahoney says, no, me first. I'm not fucking selling. I ain't fucking selling, ladies and gents. I've been doing this for too long. I know better. 2017, I joined this game, ladies and gents. I've learned better at this point. God bless. James says, fuck, I know it's my ass. It won't go up until I sell some. Sorry, fellas, I'm not selling. Yup. And that's really how this works, right? So you get these stubborn bulls, people like me, people like James, people like Josh Mahoney in the live chat. You get these stubborn bulls, and eventually the market cracks those bulls. Eventually, even those bulls become bearish, and they sell, and they capitulate. And it's after that that you start recovering, usually. The market really needs to convert everybody. And then the market starts moving in the opposite direction. So you just got to keep that in mind. Dylan Shandy volunteers as tribute, you legend. Thank you. Ladies and gents, we're sitting at 66 likes. I don't like that number. Can we get this up to 100? I'm seeing a lot of sixes today, Too many sixes. Let's see if we can smash them up. Get that up to 100. You already know. But, yeah, that's kind of where I think we are in terms of this support range. It's where I think we are in terms of, bouncing up. I think we're looking pretty good. I think we're looking pretty sweet overall. So, let's go ahead and look at some other charts here. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Against Bitcoin, it has now unfortunately plunged through support. That is a setback. I don't like that. It's not a massive setback. It's really trying to support itself. But it has lost support. Welcome, D. Johnny, into the live stream. What's going on, dude? XRP BTC has finally sold off. And it is losing support here. Now, we'll see if this sticks. XRP is really trying to defend this level. It has really tried to defend this level since December 2024. So let's see if this sticks. But if it does stick, yeah, I think it's going to be getting pretty bad. Obviously, some of these coins against the dollar have reached some incredible levels. Solana back down in the 80s. I don't think many people expected that. I don't think many people expected that. Solana against Bitcoin down pretty hard as well. Basically has free fall now, potentially. So that could get pretty rough for Solana. But I wouldn't sell this. I can't sell this. That's how you trigger the reversal. So, our altcoins are down pretty bad. I think overall, they've still been holding pretty well, right? I came on the video last time, in yesterday's video, and I basically just said, look, these altcoins, they are holding on to their Bitcoin valuations pretty good. Like, this is Dogecoin. Make it make sense. Like, how is Dogecoin holding on to its Bitcoin valuation like this? Binance Coin, unaffected. Completely unaffected. Binance Coin isn't even participating. Those of you parked up in Binance Coin, you're doing very, very well right now. Even Cardano, which has been hit really bad. It hasn't taken a significant tumble in light of the recent dump. It's these kind of setups that produce massive, fuck you God candles in one day. It happens in these kind of situations. Does it mean it's going to happen here? No. No, of course not. We can't say that with certainty. But what I can say is I've seen this before. I've seen it many times, and I've seen these kind of environments produce huge bounces. In light of all of that. Shout out Josh Mahoney. Smash the like button. Let's go, you legends. Hell yeah, we got 25 away. 25 away from 100 likes here. Thank you all very much. So that's where these coins can start pulling these kind of things off. So I think that they're in, I think people dollar cost averaging in right now are geniuses. I think that you guys are going to make a lot of money, and I hope you do. All the best to you. You're doing it right. Okay? There's never been a situation that I know of. Look at NVIDIA, by the way. There's never been a situation that I know of where people who do that don't end up getting paid in the future. It always works out for those kind of people, in my experience. There are exceptions, there are always exceptions, but for the most part, it always works out for those people. So, based, dude. That's what I have to say. And we got a lot of BroFi members that have been taking action here inside of this market as well. If you want to get yourself inside, top link in the description, $100 to join. Direct access to me, my own tools and strategies. I'm right there in that group chat. And it's really about two choices, ladies and gents. You either stay where you are, you're chasing coins that you see on X, you don't have a plan, you're not even withdrawing anything. You get the same balance. We've potentially ended a cycle here, maybe not. But are you at the same balance or even lower? I don't know. But inside of BroFi, it's not going to be like that. Inside of BroFi, we're going to be trading from a plan. Not going to be trading off a social media feed like a degenerate. From a plan, a real plan, which you're going to form. You're going to learn how to make one. I teach you how to make one. The same way I've already made my system, you can make your own. And you'll see exactly how I do it. It takes about 5 minutes. It's actually really quick. It's very simple. That is a dedicated, featured video that we put inside of BroFi for you guys to know exactly what you're doing. You're going to know your risk. You're going to be able to withdraw on a schedule. Intentional withdrawing, not lucky accidents. And, maybe most importantly, you have people calling you out when you slip. You know, you're not alone. The group is here. We check each other's blind spots. We've been doing a great job at it so far. We've been seeing some very, very beautiful, beautiful messages coming in from members. I haven't even updated this. We've had new ones. I haven't updated this. But incredible stuff here. $100 to join. These members have had no problems paying off their entry fee, which is incredible. Now, that's not necessarily going to happen to everyone. You can join BroFi and you can lose all of your money. It's not perfect. But, you know, these people have done very well. And more importantly, they're trading with common sense. I mean, there's no other way to put it. With common sense. They're trading with common sense. You know, with real strategies. With real discipline in the markets. That's all I want. That's all I want to see. Top link in the description if you like it. Check it out. See you on the other side. Been in crypto for 8 years and I started to DCA again at these levels. Yeah, and I'd argue even, you know, I mean, I'd even say that they're potentially very, very good levels to be buying. Still actually quite high if you've been around for 8 years, but that's enough time for you to know better, you know, for you to know that actually it's really smart to be DCAing in at lows if you've been around for 8 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, you know, that's the kind of time frame where you really start to learn what you're doing. But hey guys, look at this. Look at this on NVIDIA. You know, NVIDIA's sitting at 174 right now. It's got support at 170. It seems like one of the major stocks here that haven't really, you know, and especially NVIDIA, you would expect it's going to crash hard. You know, it's really holding very, very well. NVIDIA looks like it wants to pop hard, dude. It looks like it wants to go crazy. And I think it's kind of, you know, it's a little bit of a lull right now. We've seen a lot of big developments in AI. A lot of people feel like, you know, GPT 5.2 came out and now, you know, it peaked. I think what people don't understand is that AI is being deployed right now for people that can customize it, meaning people that have a lot of money that can train their own models, use them internally in their companies, stuff like that. That's where a lot of the biggest benefits for AI are right now. It's not in the form of like an LLM that you can text on your phone. Those have definitely, we can say stagnated. I wouldn't agree with that. The reason I wouldn't agree with that is because as this AI technology goes from like 97% accuracy to 98, or let's say from 80% accuracy to 90% accuracy, every additional percentage that it gains in accuracy, every additional percentage of hallucinations that it doesn't do. In other words, as the hallucinations go down and as the accuracy goes up, the usability of these models shoots through the fucking roof. You know, and it's largely the same thing. And this is what we've seen. Those of you that are paying attention, you'll be able to understand this very well. What we've seen with these AI models over the last year is that they've been fine-tuned so well that many of their core weaknesses from before are not present anymore. Or if they are present, they're significantly better. And it's still not perfect. It still hallucinates. It still makes mistakes. And that stops you and I from being able to deploy AI at scale. But a company that's doing this properly, they can really control all of those edge cases where AI might make mistakes. And then they have a near perfect supercomputer that's operating within very strict parameters. And because of those very strict parameters, the outputs are consistent and predictable and correct. Okay, so that's the kind of difference that we've seen in a year. Now listen, if that's all too technical for you, there's a simple way for you to understand this. Okay, the simple way to understand this is that with these AI models, they used to make a lot of mistakes. Now, as we tweak them and as we make them better and they start making less mistakes, even if they're not perfect, if they just make less mistakes, the things that we can use them for explode. The bucket of things we can do with AI gets a lot bigger as the accuracy goes up. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it still makes that bucket of things we can do a lot bigger. And I think that's been really important. Obviously, a lot of people don't understand this stuff. And again, GPT 5.2, not substantially better than 4.0, as they say. It's not true. I think it's fantastic. In those kind of situations, they start really losing their minds. Shout out to 𝐄𝐥𝐜𝐻𝐚 in the live chat. What's going on, dude? What's going on? So, that's what I think about these AI stocks. I think it's very, very interesting that really, NVIDIA, there's a lot of speculation on NVIDIA. This is the most valuable stock in the world. And it's holding completely sideways here. Everything else is losing massive support levels. NVIDIA isn't. That's really interesting. That is really interesting. And if this thing starts moving heavy again into that $200 range, it's going to drag everything else up with it. I don't know about Bitcoin. I would expect it to drag Bitcoin up as well. I do expect that to happen. But it's going to drag Tesla up. It's going to drag Palantir up. Everything else is going to come up with it. Do we see that relief reflected in Bitcoin? Well, listen. The bears are going to tell you that there's no chance. The bears are going to tell you that that's impossible. And that's their job. So it wouldn't matter. But I think, it's been a temporary state of affairs that Bitcoin doesn't pump with traditional finance, and I think that's going to come to an end. I don't know when. I think it's soon. I think it's this year. I think it's actually in the next 4 months. I do think so. I think in the next 4 months, we should see things turning around because it's America's 250th birthday in July. And I think Trump wants the markets to be bullish for that. And I think that if he does want the markets to be bullish for that, then this is kind of like the worst case scenario playing out in terms of, well, the markets need to crash first to be bullish. If that's how it's going to go, then I think that might be what we see. It says Sammy's a secret bear. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. This whole time I've been selling Bitcoin. This whole time I've been offloading my Bitcoin. I've been buying bicycles and Democrat voting pins. Hell yeah. So, that's NVIDIA. Looks pretty sweet. We're going to be fine, guys. We're going to be fine. Lord Armin says, I'm wondering if big players are trying to force strategy. I'm trying to force strategy to dump some of their holdings by driving the price way below their average buy price. Listen, I don't think MicroStrategy is going to capitulate. I think that's silly. I don't think that's going to happen. Is Lord Amen related to me? Yeah, when I saw Lord Amen, I thought that was you. I was like, that's probably not you. Yeah, no, I think MicroStrategy is going to be fine. I think that's just FUD. Michael Saylor is not stupid. He's actually one of the smartest people in the space. I know it doesn't seem that way sometimes, but I don't know. I guess in a sense, like, your opinion doesn't matter if you're worth less than him, right? I know that's not what we like to say to each other, but it is how the world works. Let's take a look at this article here. What we got? Here's what industry veterans are saying. As Bitcoin tumbles below 70k, this drawdown feels horrible, not because of the magnitude, but because it's unfair. Wow, unfair. Unfair. Now what? Now we're fucking socialist Democrats or something. Everything needs to be fair in these markets. Go fuck yourself, dude. What the fuck are you talking about? Unfair, fam. It's crypto. Yeah, I know it's not fair. I agree with you. But what do you mean fair, bro? Like, this is politics or something? No. These are financial markets. Come on. Come on. I'm not even doing this. Fuck this. We'll do this another day. That was a horrible start to reading the news. I was like, today I'm going to be a normal YouTuber. I'm going to open the news up. I'm going to read the news. I can't do it. I can't do it with this low IQ shit. Talk about fair in the market. What do you mean fair? What do you mean? Who's the police then? Fair. Fuck you on about, fam? Nothing's fair. Fair doesn't exist. Yeah, I think that's silly. I think that's silly. But I tell you what, I'm sure the rest of that article was fantastic. Someone else can enjoy it. We'll try that again on another day. I get triggered too easily when I read the news. It's just so useless. But the reason it's interesting is because they will catch things that I don't look at. You know, they will be outlining things that I haven't seen because they care about the things that I consider not to be relevant. But it looks like Bitcoin is getting ready for a drop here. So let's see if this does turn into a drop on Bitcoin. If it loses basically 66,700, then we could be plunging pretty deep right here on this stream. So we'll see how this goes. Smash up the likes if you don't want to see Bitcoin do it. If you want to see Bitcoin stay above this level, let's even get this thing up to 100 likes. That'd be sick. I think what we've learned from this crash is that institutional interest doesn't affect technicals. I mean, I think you're just looking at this on a very small time frame, and I think that's the same mistake that everybody else makes. You know, basically, Dylan is saying, you know, there's been a lot of institutional interest, but the technicals were bad, and you know, therefore Bitcoin had to crash. But I guess I can agree with you now that we have the gift of hindsight. But you know, really, what I think is, look, this institutional interest is a large time frame thing, you know, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time, you know. Still, from this point, I think it could still take time. It could be this year, but it could also take some time, and I think that's normal. I think that's fine, honestly. Chris Farrell says the long-short ratio is still very long. More pain incoming. I do agree with that. Yeah, the long-short ratio has been long-leaning for a couple of years now. To be honest, it's been pretty heavy bullish for a very, very long time. It might have flipped at some point, but I haven't seen it. Maybe if it did flip, it must have been quick and short. You know, not really like a big flip. You know, from what I've observed, it's been long the whole time, from 15K up to 126 and back down to 66K where we are today. I've seen it staying. You know, it was majority long every time I checked. Every time. I don't think I saw an exception in these last couple of years, which is kind of crazy. It made me look at it a little bit less. It feels less reliable because of that. But we are really getting ready for a potentially sizable drop here. Let's take a look at this here. Bitcoin is pushing through that floor. Short-term pain for long-term gain. Hell yeah, dude. Bang on. Completely agree. Completely agree. Let's see if Bitcoin produces a bounce here. We're safe for another 10 minutes potentially, but it could still get pretty nasty. We'll see. We'll see. But ladies and gents, we are probably going to be wrapping up this stream soon. I want to see what happens to Bitcoin here before I go. If you have enjoyed this one, you know what to do. Smash up those likes. Double check that you're subscribed. Get yourself inside of BroFi. Top link in the description. If you're looking for a new home to trade, Bybit, Blofin. Great bonuses when you start trading using these platforms. Check them out. If you're not from a restricted region, really, really cool stuff. Of course, if there's more volatility, we'll be right back here with another live stream today. So if you got that bell icon checked here on YouTube, you got notifications switched on, you'll be able to watch us live again if anything interesting happens in this market. I'll be right here. I'm always close to the office. So, you know, if something goes down, we'll just pop back up on here. We'll take a look at it, give our analysis. We do have the BroFi stream in a couple of hours. Really excited for that. I'm really excited for that. If you want to get yourself inside, you already know the deal. If 50 breaks, everyone, and then Nan will be calling for 30K, so it won't happen. I'll front run around 40. Yeah, I think I agree with your take there. I just think being a bear has become a little bit too sexy right now. And I don't think it's going to last like that forever, you know? But let's see Bitcoin here. I just have to watch this while we're here. Fuck it. It'll be the most interesting thing that happens. It always happens when I start live streaming, the market kind of stops moving. which is annoying because you guys want me here when the market is moving, and I want to be here when the market is moving. But then the streams end right before something happens. So we are going to give it a couple more minutes. Just kind of watch this, see how this goes. Fuck it. We'll give CoinDesk another try while we wait. May as well. I can't just fucking stand here mindlessly. Let me see if there's a new article though. Alright, let's talk about strategy here. That's interesting. Alright, so what we got here? Strategy has $6.5 billion loss on Bitcoin, but continues trading at premium to value of its assets. Ahead of the fourth quarter earnings report tonight, shares are down another 13% as Bitcoin falls back to 68K. Strategy's loss on its Bitcoin holdings has grown to $6.5 billion. Shares continue to plunge, but continue to trade at a slight premium to the company's holdings of Bitcoin. Michael Saylor and team could continue issuing common stock to purchase more Bitcoin without the move necessarily being dilutive to shareholders. Strategy, the world's largest publicly traded corporate holder of Bitcoin, is seeing a quick rise in losses on its vast holdings. The company currently owns 713,000 Bitcoin at an average acquisition price of 76K. Not too bad. Not ideal. With spot Bitcoin trading near 67,000, this represents an unrealized loss of almost $6.5 billion, or roughly 12% relative to that average cost basis. They're down 12%. All right, that's a fucking convoluted way of saying that they're down 12%. And, you know, it's crypto, right? So obviously they've got to price in that it can drop by 50% or 80%. You have to price it in. You know, so I don't think that a 67K Bitcoin's putting Michael Saylor out of business. I think we're okay there. MicroStrategy shares down about 13% on the day, making Thursday the largest single-day decline in nearly 1 year. The stock's now down 66% year over year and nearly 80% from a record high reached shortly after Trump's election victory. Despite the massive drawdown, Strategy continues to trade at a modest premium to the value of Bitcoin on its balance sheet, known in the trade as multiple of net asset value. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Oh, we did dip below support a tiny bit. Let's see how this is continuing to play out here. Ladies and gents, if you have any questions here, drop them in the live chat now as well. Now's the time, especially as we are coming to the end of this live stream here. Smash up those likes if you haven't done so already. We're only 4 away from 100, from the big 100. You legends. Thank you all very much. Looks like Bitcoin's kind of supported itself here. We'll come back to this in a minute. So, basically 1.09. It's trading 9% higher. Their stock is trading 9% higher than their Bitcoin holdings. So they have to. So basically, they can keep buying more. That's what they're saying. So, yeah, everyone's trying to FUD MicroStrategy, you know, because they're a kind of easy scapegoat to FUD. But you know, this is a future that is deeply integrated with Bitcoin. I believe that at this stage. I do believe that we have a lot of Bitcoin in this future here. Are you on a treadmill? If not, please stand still. It's annoying. Yeah, I'm actually done on the treadmill here. How many steps have I done? What is this? 5,500 steps. That's pretty good. 5,500 steps. That's half of what I need to do in a day. I'm trying to go for 15K now, though. 15K is hard. You know, if you want to do 15,000 steps a day, that is nearly like 3 hours of walking non-stop. So, yeah, everyone's like 10K a day, 10K a day. You don't realize that that's 2 hours of walking collectively. You know, not everyone's got 2 hours to be walking, let alone 3. Like, 3 is kind of crazy. But good for you. It's very, very good for you. It's very good for you. But yeah, we're done on the treadmill. 5.5K steps. I'm done for a minute. Thank you guys for 100 likes. But yeah, you know, Michael Saylor, all this stuff, I think it's nonsense. I really do. Guys, while we're here, I gotta talk to you about something. So, as you've seen, BroFi, this channel has changed, right? It used to be 4Flies, whatever. Now it's BroFi. I wanna take this in a different direction, and the different direction that I want to take it in is much more like normal stuff. The kind of thing that So like I tried it a minute ago, right? And then I got scared away because someone made a stupid comment. But I want to do a lot more of this. I want to like, you know, be a little bit more of like, essentially a like someone that's talking about the news and kind of commenting on what's going on the day. Now you're gonna know if you've been watching me for a while that I don't care about the news, right? And I made that very, very clear. Like if the news is saying one thing or the other, MicroStrategy is going to crash, whatever. Like these things never really weigh into my analysis because they're just not relevant. Like as a fact, I believe they're just not relevant. And so the main thing that I consider to be relevant is going to be the market psychology of market participants and the technicals. And of course, fundamentals are important, but my point is you can't analyze fundamentals again and again and again, right? Like fundamentals, you only do it once and it doesn't really change that much. So I want to be able to come here on a different setup, sitting down instead of on the treadmill, and just kind of look at everything that's happened on the day, and kind of give you guys my thoughts on it. And I want you to tell me what you think about that. You know, do you think that's what you want to see? Now, listen, we're still gonna do the same kind of analysis that you guys are very familiar with on this channel, but the difference is that, see, most of the time the market isn't really moving. On those days, I still have a lot that I can talk to you guys about. And what I found is, like, I definitely don't care about this stuff. And I make no secret of it, okay? I really don't care about this stuff. The news I'm talking about. The things you see on CoinDesk, even on Twitter and so on. I read it all the time, but I don't care about it. But many of you guys do. And many of you guys want to know what I think about it. You know, and so what I was thinking is BroFi can turn into, you know, a more regular show, you know, daily. If not even more than daily, I can do 2-3 times a day because there is a lot. Like if we do this, there's a lot we can talk about. And then we just get a lot more content. And we still get this listen, I'm still a technical guy. I'm always going to be a technical guy. I've seen the light, okay? I've seen the light and I'm convinced. So I'm still a technical guy. But, you know, like I said, most of the time we can't do this. Now, when we can, hell yeah, I'm back here on the treadmill. I'm chopping it up with you guys. We're chatting shit. We're, you know, whatever. We're having fun. I'll still do this. But, you know, for the other 98% of the time, what are we thinking, ladies and gents? Henry Oak says, yeah, I've been watching you since you went long from 4K in 2018. You remember that long at 4K? I remember that long too, dude. That was a really good trade, right? That was still one of my favorite trades I ever made. Still. It was so... Listen, the market is so different these days, dude. The market is so different. You remember that log for 4K? You legend, dude. That's so cool. He's talking about this right here. This was a really, like, high-profile long position that I took. Everybody knew about it. My VIPs knew about it. And, it was literally like the day before the pump happened. You mean 2019, right? You mean 2019, of course, because this was 2019. March 2019. Or April, I guess. I remember that actually. Hell yeah. Hell, you guys been around for a while. That's really cool. That's like 7 years. That's 7 years ago. You guys have been around for a while, man. Some of you guys might have kids or something by now. Shit. If you didn't already, you know. Like 7 years is a long time for life to change, man. That's incredible. Well, thank you guys for, you know, being here for that long. That's amazing. I mean, 7 years. I wanna like send you a gift in the mail or something. I wanna send you like a snow globe or something, you know, maybe a little like Burj Khalifa, you know, thing in the mail or something just to say thank you. I don't know. I gotta figure that out. If the economics on that makes sense, I would totally do that for my fans, 100%. End this for life, bro. Hell yeah. I'm not going anywhere either. Maybe I send you guys a cookie, you know? A nice cookie. A good cookie is really nice. I think everybody likes a good cookie. I'm sure there's a way to do it. But, nah, you guys are cool. Yeah, hell yeah. Thank you for that support, that long-time support. I really appreciate it. That's really cool. So, yeah, you know, that's kind of the direction I'm thinking of taking this in with this channel. And that really means, you know, continuing to just kind of look through these things and talk about them. Yeah, I agree with this. Deutsche Bank says Bitcoin sell-off signals a loss of conviction, not a broken market. It's not a broken market. People just don't believe in Bitcoin. You know, which is not scary because obviously people don't believe in Bitcoin. They're going to believe in it only when it's going up. So, you know, it's really, you're not really saying anything by pointing out that, you know, it's down bad or the chart is fucked, because it's the recovery. Like, you know, you don't want to get caught by that, like, you know, not expecting it, positioned against it, that kind of thing. I mean, look, I might be wrong. We might never get a recovery, but we probably will. We probably will get a recovery. Lord Amin says, I like Saylor, and I think he's a smart guy. But what I'm saying is big players may be playing the long game too, and they're able to force his hand since he's a publicly traded company. Max Payne. I mean, yeah, it's possible. The Lehman Brothers collapsed, you know, so 100%. You know, we could be looking at a situation where Michael Saylor has to, you know, do a margin call, and then things start getting really ugly if he has to start selling, because it could potentially crash us below 20K with all that selling volume. Especially, you know, we saw on 10/10, October 10, there's no liquidity in these markets. Neither in silver and gold, by the way. No liquidity. Not enough. There's clearly a lot of liquidity, but not enough to stop silver from dropping 40%. So how much liquidity is there actually? Do you know what I'm saying? Fear and greed at 10 has never sustained itself. Worst is happening now. Let's take a look at that. I haven't seen that in a while. Yeah, we got a 12 reading right here. 14. Isn't this nice, by the way? I have an extension that makes everything black instead of white. Protects my eyes, protects your eyes. Some people don't like this. Some people don't like dark mode. And I'm like, you're so weird that it's kind of scary. That's how I feel about people that don't like dark mode. Like, who are you? What do you mean you don't like dark mode? Yeah, and I mean, like, in the middle of the day, fam, with the sun blaring straight through my window. I'm still in dark mode. How can you be in light mode? That's crazy. I don't even do that based on system settings. I don't let iOS decide when I'm in dark mode, fam. I'm always in dark mode. Black don't crack. You already know it. But yeah, we got very, very low readings on the fear and greed index here, and you're bang on correct. We don't tend to spend too much time at these kind of levels as far as fear and greed index. The last time we did, November 2025, that was right after all the scary stuff in October, obviously. It almost looks like Bitcoin has spent more time in the fearful levels, right? I mean, where does this go back to? This goes back to 2018. And it's almost like Bitcoin spent like most of its time below 50, below 60. So that's interesting. Below 60 would make sense, I guess. But even below 50, I think. We'll have to see. Someone's going to have to run a model on that to check that out. But very, very low fear and greed rating, yeah. Bitcoin's coming back down to this low again. See how this goes. Math Girl says 62K or reversal. I don't understand what that means. Does that mean she's saying that it can reverse now or at 62? Lord Armin says, I can't remember when I first subscribed to you, but I know I found you while I was watching Crypto Kirby back in the good old pre-pandemic days. Dude, I miss Crypto Kirby. Where is that guy? We need him back. If there's ever a time that we needed Crypto Kirby, I tell you what. If Crypto Kirby came back today and he is bearish, I might actually change my mind. I think that would push me over the edge. If Crypto Kirby is bearish, and I don't mean like a little bit bearish, like he thinks the next few months can be bad, he thinks we might drop down to 30K. I mean, if he thinks that we're in a 1 year, 2 year bear market, I would even consider changing my mind on that. I think Crypto Kirby is the only one that could do that for me. Bless his soul. Bless him. I miss him, dude. He's the coolest guy. He's the coolest guy ever, man. Like I can't even say that I want him to come back because I don't know if he wants to come back, and that's more important. Because he's a bro, and all I want is that dude is as happy as he can possibly be. That's all I want for him. He is a legend. He defined the game as far as I'm concerned, and then he just left. Hey, he lived long enough. He died a superhero in that sense, right? He didn't live long enough to become the villain. James says, no Kirby here, but you still got me. James at the water cooler. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, we got James, getting James at the water cooler. Historically, we'll bottom in October. That's not bad, right? I mean, a lot of people are saying that we're going to bottom in October. I definitely don't think so. I think it's naive to make such, specific time-based analysis. But, that's just me. Time-based analysis can be legit. Crypto Kirby got caught behind the water cooler with Carl. He validated that Carl is short. Do I want to bet? No. You missed my point, didn't you? I said it's naive to be predicting these things. Now you're asking me if I want to bet on it? I just said it's naive. No. And by the way, if you can't figure out that it's naive, let's put it this way. It's February 5th right now. In order for you to be right about your analysis about October, you need to be right about what happens in April, May, June, July, August, September 1st. Or you could be like, okay, but all of that is a blank, and I just think that by October we're here. Not very scientific. It's not very scientific. It's not very realistic. I don't know where we get these October targets from. I've been seeing them go around, and I'm like where? How are you modeling this? Oh, you saw it on Twitter. Keep it simple, guys. We can't see that far. We can't see that far. It's October. I mean, who predicted that Bitcoin was going to bottom at 15K in December of 2022? Who predicted that? Show me somebody that predicted that. There'll be some weird dude that made 200 predictions and one of them was correct. It'll be some weird dude that did some fringe astrological analysis and they called the bottom like that. Or it was me. I didn't actually call the bottom, but it was at this point that I turned very bullish. I didn't call the bottom, but I turned very bullish over there, which is kind of the same thing. But for the most part, people don't people weren't able to say, like here in April 2022, that December is when the sell-off ends. Nobody can say that. Similarly, right now we're in February. Nobody can say that by October we're done. How do you know? What are you basing that off? You have nothing to base it off. You can't base it off anything because there's nothing you're basing it off. Maybe you're going to point to like a trend line that lands in October. There are tools that can help you do this, by the way. There are Fibonacci sequences and so on that you can use. There are definitely indicators and strategies that you can use, but they're so fringe. And they're not like you can't use these same tools in daily life as a trader. And then in that case, you're using a fringe tool for a highly circumstantial event. You're just there's a concept called like overfitting. When you're back testing a bot, basically you'll try and fit the parameters to work really well in that back tested environment. But now you've overfitted it to that environment. And then you take that same approach into the forward testing, into live trading. And because you've overfitted it for a particular context, it doesn't work as well for forward analysis now, for forward trading, for live trading. Why? Because you're using a hyper-specific set of data for a hyper-specific range, and now you're extrapolating it to everything else. And it's more nuanced than that. It's more complicated than that. And that's the problem. That's the mistake that technical analysts make. Especially if they watch analysis from somebody else, they'll notice something that might look authoritative because it's specific. They might notice a bit of analysis that is hyper-specific about hyper-specific price levels. And because of that specificity, it looks like that person knows what they're talking about. I'm not saying they don't know what they're talking about. That's different. You evaluate that on their own merits. But being specific, that is not a sign of being correct. Not in trading. Okay, anybody can be very specific with their targets. Be it time-based analysis for a bottom in October or price-based analysis for a bottom at 35K. Nobody's getting it right. All right, nobody saw the 69K top. Nobody saw the 15K bottom. Okay? So, you know, it's just not something that I try and ask. Now, other people will take these questions and give you their opinions on it, and that's because they're giving you what you want to hear. But realistically, there's really no way to know when or where these kind of markets are going to bottom. And being in the business of predicting that stuff, in my opinion, is very inefficient. It's a waste of time. That's how I feel about it. The reason I feel that way is because you can't even make money off those things. It really is like stroking your ego, those kind of discussions. What I want to know is there money in this market right now? And I think that there is. Especially at these levels. It might not be like a great long-term buy. It might be that if we produce a bounce, it only lasts for a month or a few months or a week. But yeah, I think there's opportunity here. And that's a lot more important than whether we bottom on a certain month or at a certain price. Because, you know, that stuff may or may not happen, and if it does, it's many months away. We can't do anything about that. Just wait until they print that $4.7 trillion. Yeah, we have... This is the thing. We still have all of these latent factors that are so good, that are so positive for the space, that, yeah, you just can't... You know, you can't make me feel worried about this market. It's really... We're really not in a bad place. I don't think we're in a bad place. But, you know, look, all of these things, it's all about, you know, having the right approach to the markets. You know, so many people, they don't have a good structured approach to the markets. They've never actually developed a real system, and then they put their money in the market. That's crazy. That's like, you know, you're setting yourself up for failure. You know, and we want to fix that. Inside of BroFi, you join BroFi, and on day one, this depends on how quickly you move. On day one, you can be set up with a brand new system. You can be set up with a brand new approach where you only trade from a plan from now on, where you know what your risk is going to be. This can happen on day one. This can happen today for you. All you have to do is go through the BroFi certified course. It's already recorded for you, where you can download the knowledge in my brain into yours. We've got the trading psychology course. I can't think of a more important time to be going through this stuff right now. And it is the boring stuff. I have to say, this is definitely not like, you know, super sexy trading group the way that you'll see others advertising brilliant signals that make 20% in a day. That's not BroFi. BroFi is a permanent change. This is bro finance, ladies and gents. BroFi is a permanent change. You join BroFi as whoever you are, and you become a genuine trader. You become a genuine investor. Somebody that is following processes instead of feelings. That's what this is. And there's no better time than right now in these turbulent market conditions. You don't need to be going through this alone. This can get very scary. The market can really fuck with you. If you like the idea of having a based community behind you, that's what this is. Top of the description, $100 to join. Get yourself inside. Adam says, none of the fundamentals have changed. I remain convicted and you'll be fine. Completely agree. Completely agree. Chris says, yeah, it's been long, but it's been retarded long since all-time high, like 75% long. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. But keep in mind, that is position quantity, not position size. They don't give the real position size information in terms of who's long and short. All right. Ladies and gents, I'm going to be calling it here. It's been a brilliant live stream. I've really enjoyed doing this with you guys today. If you've enjoyed this stream, do me one more favor. If you haven't already, smash up those likes. Double check that you're subscribed. Do all that good stuff. We'll be back here again today if something interesting happens. So make sure you are subscribed. We'll be live again if the market moves in an interesting way. We probably will be at this rate. It looks like we're going to be live again. So I'll probably just see you again in a couple hours. We'll see when that happens. But I'm going to get going, take care of a couple things. It's been a brilliant live stream. Thank you all for tuning in. Crypto is not long-term. Quantum is coming. There's already quantum-resistant, what do I call it? Architecture. I think we might be able to neutralize that problem before it becomes a real problem. It looks at this stage, it looks like we'll be able to neutralize it before it becomes a problem. But it is a question mark. That's not a certainty. It's bigger than you think, the quantum computing. I mean, I'm well aware of the risk. I've been scared of this risk for a few years. I've been very aware of this risk for a few years, and I've been scared of it for a while. But I'm less scared of it now because I've seen the quantum resistant architecture already starting to take shape well ahead of the risk. Sir, how long can Bitcoin down? Good question, bro. October. Until October. All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Really hope you've enjoyed this one as much as I have. I've enjoyed this one a lot. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one as much as I have. And I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers, guys. Appreciate it.